Mom always forbade opening the door to strangers, but the most terrifying evil entered the house under the mask of a kind neighbor. It was a suffocating Thursday afternoon in late August, the kind where the heat radiated off the asphalt in shimmering waves and the air hung heavy with humidity and the drone of cicadas. Inside the two-story suburban house in Raleigh, the air conditioning hummed a low, artificial lullaby. 16-year-old Leo sat on the living room floor, legs crossed, eyes glued to the television screen as he navigated a digital avatar through a war zone. He was alone. His mother had left that morning for a 3-day nursing conference in Charlotte, leaving behind a fridge stocked with frozen pizzas and a list of instructions taped to the granite counter. The most important rule, underlined twice in red ink, was simple. Do not open the door for anyone. Leo felt the thrill of independence. The house felt enormous, expanding in the silence, every creak of the settling floorboards amplified. He was the king of his castle, armed with a controller and a bag of chips. Then the doorbell rang. It was not a demanding ring, just a polite, rhythmic chime that sliced through the sound of gunfire from the TV. Leo froze. He waited, hoping whoever it was would leave. A flyer distributor, a Jehovah's Witness, a salesman. He held his breath. A moment later, a knock followed. Not the heavy pound of a stranger, but a familiar, gentle rap. Leo crawled to the window, peering through the slats of the blinds. Relief washed over him instantly, loosening the knot of tension in his chest. It was not a stranger. It was Mr. Garrison from 3 doors down. Robert Garrison was the neighborhood saint. He was a man in his early 40s with a meticulously trimmed lawn and a smile that seemed permanently etched onto his face. He was the guy who had helped Leo's mom jump-start her car in the dead of winter without being asked. He was the guy who brought over a tin of homemade cookies when they first moved in. He was safe. He was a known variable in the equation of their quiet subdivision. Leo stood up, brushing crumb dust from his jeans, and walked to the door. He unlocked the deadbolt, the metal mechanism sliding back with a heavy thunk, and pulled the door open. "Hey, Mr. Garrison," Leo said, forcing a casual tone. Mr. Garrison stood on the porch, shifting his weight from foot to foot. He looked different today. Usually he was crisp, wearing pressed khakis and a polo shirt tucked in with military precision. Today, his shirt was untucked, dark patches of sweat staining the fabric under his arms and down his spine. His face, usually ruddy with health, was pale and slick. He held a smartphone in his hand, the screen black. "Leo, hey buddy," Garrison said. His voice was breathless, pitched slightly higher than normal. He glanced over his shoulder at the empty street, his eyes darting back and forth like a trapped bird. "I am so sorry to bother you. I really am. Is everything okay?" Leo asked, stepping back slightly. The heat from outside rushed in, clashing with the cool indoor air. "My phone died," Garrison said, holding up the dead device as evidence, "and I locked myself out. My wife, Sarah, she took the spare key, and she would not be back for hours. I am expecting a call about a job interview, a big one, in 10 minutes. I really see not miss it." He offered that familiar smile, but it did not reach his eyes. His eyes were wide, rimmed with white, vibrating with an intensity Leo could not place. Leo hesitated. His mother's voice echoed in his head. "Do not open the door." But this was Mr. Garrison. This was the man who fixed their mailbox. Leaving him sweating on the porch while he missed a job interview felt cruel, almost childish. Leo did not want to be a child anymore. He wanted to be the man of the house. "Yeah, of course," Leo said, stepping aside. "Come in. You can use the landline in the kitchen." "You a lifesaver, Leo." "Really?" Garrison breathed out, stepping over the threshold. As Garrison passed him, Leo caught a whiff of him. It was not the smell of expensive cologne he usually wore. It was the sour, metallic tang of old sweat and raw fear. Garrison moved with a strange, jerky energy, his head on a swivel as he entered the living room. He did not look at Leo. He looked at the windows, the hallway, the stairs. "Just the kitchen phone?" Garrison asked, his voice tight. Yeah, on the wall, Leo pointed. Garrison walked quickly to the kitchen. Leo followed, a sudden, inexplicable pit forming in his stomach. He watched as the neighbor picked up the receiver. Garrison stared at the keypad for a long second, his finger hovering over the buttons, as if he had forgotten how numbers worked. Then he dialed. Leo leaned against the doorframe, trying to give him privacy but feeling an instinctual need to watch. Garrison turned his back to Leo, hunched over the counter. He spoke in a low, harsh whisper. I know. Just listen. Garrison hissed into the phone. I say not right now. That's too hot. No, I need more time. Just give me an hour. There was no mention of an interview. No professional pleasantries. Garrison's free hand gripped the edge of the granite counter, so hard his knuckles turned bone white. Leo's eyes drifted to Garrison's wrist. There was a raw, red abrasion circling it, like a rope burn or the mark of a zip tie that had been ripped off. Garrison hung up the phone with a clatter. He stood there for a moment, head bowed, breathing heavily. When he turned back to Leo, the smile was plastered back on, but it looked like a crack in a porcelain mask. Thanks, kid. Went to voicemail. He lied effortlessly. Hey, do you mind if I use the restroom? All that coffee, you know? Sure. Down the hall, Leo said. Actually, Garrison interrupted, taking a step toward the back of the house instead of the hallway. Do you have a back door? I think I might have left a window open in my backyard. I could hop the fence, save me walking around the street. It was a bizarre request. The street was the faster way. But before Leo could process the logic, 3 booming knocks hammered against the front door. Boom, boom, boom. The sound was authoritative, heavy, demanding. Mr. Garrison flinched as if he'd been shot. His body went rigid, his eyes blowing wide with sheer terror. The color drained from his face so completely he looked like a corpse standing upright. He looked at the front door, then at Leo, and for the first time Leo saw something dangerous in those eyes. It was not fear of a missed interview. It was the desperation of a hunted animal. The knocking came again, louder this time, accompanied by a voice that muffled through the heavy wood but was unmistakable in its tone. Police! Open up! The air in the kitchen seemed to vanish. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat that echoed in his ears. He looked at Mr. Garrison, waiting for the adult in the room to explain, to laugh it off, to go answer the door. Instead, Garrison lunged. He moved with terrifying speed, closing the distance between them. He grabbed Leo's shoulders, his fingers digging into the muscle with bruising force. His face was inches from Leo's, his breath hot and sour. Do not tell them I'm here, Garrison whispered, his voice trembling with a manic intensity. Leo, listen to me. It's a misunderstanding. A huge misunderstanding with my company. If they see me, they'll arrest me before I can clear my name. I just need time. Please. I do not. Leo stammered, his mind reeling. Please. Garrison hissed, shaking him slightly. Think of all the times I helped your mom. I'm not a criminal, Leo. I'm your neighbor. Just get rid of them. Please. The police pounded on the door a third time. We know someone is inside. Open the door. Garrison let go of Leo and scrambled backward, looking for a hiding spot. He spotted the laundry room door adjacent to the kitchen. Without another word, he dove inside, pulling the door shut until it clicked softly. Leo was left standing alone in the middle of his kitchen, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The silence that followed was deafening. He was 16 years old, alone with the police at his front door and a man hiding in his laundry room. The choice had been made for him, or so it felt. He could not turn Garrison in. That was Mr. Garrison. He fixed mailboxes. He brought cookies. Leo forced his legs to move. They felt like lead, heavy and unresponsive. He walked to the front door, wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans. He took a deep, shuddering breath and unlocked the door, opening it just a crack. 2 officers stood on the porch. A tall, imposing woman with her hair pulled back in a severe bun, and a stocky, older man with a gray mustache. They both had their hands resting near their belts, their postures alert. Yes, Leo's voice cracked. He sounded guilty. He knew he sounded guilty. Son, are you home alone? The female officer asked, her eyes scanning the sliver of the living room she could see over Leo's shoulder. Yeah, my mom's away on business, Leo said. He tried to block the gap with his body. Can I help you? The older officer stepped forward, peering down at Leo. We looking for a neighbor of yours, Robert Garrison. Lives 3 houses down. Have you seen him today? Leo's throat felt like it was filled with sand. All he had to do was nod. All he had to do was point to the laundry room. But the image of Garrison's terrified face, the plea about a misunderstanding, paralyzed him. If he ratted him out and it really was just a mistake, he'd be betraying the only neighbor who gave a damn about them. No, Leo lied. The word tasted vile on his tongue. I have not seen him. The female officer narrowed her eyes. She did not buy it. Leo could feel her scrutiny like a physical weight. You sure about that? His wife said he left the house on foot about 20 minutes ago. Someone reported seeing a man matching his description cutting through your yard. I've been playing video games with headphones on, Leo added quickly, the lies tumbling out, building a fragile wall around him. I have not looked outside. The stocky officer sniffed the air. He leaned in closer. Mind if we come in and take a quick look? Just to be sure. If he's wandering around, he could be dangerous. Dangerous. The word hung in the air. My mom. Leo started, his voice trembling. She does not allow people in the house when she's gone. Even police. Unless you have a warrant? He had seen that in movies. He did not know if it was the right thing to say, but he was terrified that if they came in, they'd find Garrison, and then they'd find out Leo had lied, and then he'd be arrested too. He was spiraling, trapping himself in a web of obstruction. The officers exchanged a look of frustration. We do not need a warrant if we have probable cause to believe a fugitive is on the premises, the woman said sharply. But we do not want to scare you, son. Look, if you see him, do not approach him. Do you understand? Why? Leo asked, his voice barely a whisper. What did he do? Just call 911, the man said, his tone grim. He pulled a card from his pocket and thrust it into Leo's hand. Lock your doors. Keep them locked. They stared at him for another agonizing 5 seconds, searching his face for a crack in the facade. Leo held his breath, praying they could not hear the frantic thumping of his heart. Finally, they turned and walked back toward their cruiser parked at the curb. Leo closed the door and locked it. He leaned his forehead against the cool wood, gasping for air. He had done it. He had sent the police away. He had protected Mr. Garrison. He pushed off the door and walked back toward the kitchen. The house felt different now. It was not just empty. It felt tainted. He reached for the handle of the laundry room door. Mr. Garrison? Leo whispered. They gone. The door did not open immediately. Then slowly the knob turned. Mr. Garrison stepped out. But the relief Leo expected to see was not there. Garrison was not wiping sweat from his brow or exhaling in gratitude. He was standing tall. His posture had changed. The slump of the desperate victim was gone, replaced by a rigid, coiled tension. He was staring at the front door, listening to the fading sound of the police engine. You did good, kid, Garrison said. His voice was devoid of the warmth from earlier. It was flat, cold. Really good. Leo took a step back, an instinctual retreat. The atmosphere in the kitchen had shifted from shared anxiety to something far more sinister. So, was it a misunderstanding? About the job? Garrison looked at Leo as if he were seeing a piece of furniture. He walked past Leo to the window, peering through the blinds with calculated precision. Something like that. You should go, Leo said, his voice shaking. They said you might be dangerous. They going to circle back. They would not be back for a while. They going to check the park and the creek, Garrison muttered to himself. He turned his gaze back to Leo. I need a car. Where are your mom's keys? She drove. She took the car, Leo said. This was true, and for the first time he was grateful for it. Garrison cursed under his breath, a sharp, violent sound that made Leo flinch. Right. The conference. He paced the small kitchen, his shoes squeaking on the linoleum. He looked at the knife block on the counter. Leo's eyes followed his gaze. Mr. Garrison, please just leave. Leo pleaded. I lied for you. I could go to jail. You already involved, Leo, Garrison said softly. He stopped pacing and leaned against the island, crossing his arms. The friendly neighbor mask was completely gone now. In its place was a man who looked hollowed out, stripped of morality by desperation. You harbored a fugitive. You lied to federal officers. You in this. Federal, Leo choked out. It was not a misunderstanding, Garrison said, a twisted smirk touching his lips. It was an embezzlement. $4 million from the pension fund. They froze the accounts this morning. I had a bag packed, but Sarah, she found it. She panicked, called the cops. Leo felt the blood drain from his face. $4 million. The helpful neighbor, the guy who mowed his lawn in perfect diagonal stripes, was a thief on a massive scale. I did not hurt anyone, Garrison continued, his eyes dead. I just moved numbers around. But they would not see it that way. And I am not going to prison, Leo. I'm not going to sit in a cage. He took a step toward Leo. I need a way out. And you going to help me? I do not have a car, Leo cried, backing up until his spine hit the refrigerator. No, Garrison said, his eyes landing on the door to the garage. But you have that mountain bike. The one I helped you fix the chain on last summer. The Cannondale. That's my bike, Leo whispered. It was his most prized possession, a gift from his late father. Get it? Garrison commanded. The volume of his voice did not rise, but the threat was unmistakable. He took another step closer. Now, Leo looked at the back door. He could run. But could he outrun a grown man? A desperate man? Garrison was between him and the front door. The knives were on the counter to Garrison's right. Mr. Garrison, do not, Leo said, tears stinging his eyes. You not this guy. Garrison laughed, a dry, barking sound. You do not know who I am, kid. You know the version of me that lives in the suburbs. That version is dead. Now move. Garrison reached out and grabbed Leo's arm. It was not the grip of a friend. It was a vice. He shoved Leo toward the garage door. The physical violence was shocking. It shattered the last remnants of Leo's denial. This was not a neighbor. This was a stranger who happened to know his name. Leo stumbled into the garage, the heat hitting him again. Garrison was right behind him, breathing down his neck. The bike hung on a rack on the far wall. Get it down, Garrison ordered. Leo lifted the bike, his arms shaking. He set it on the concrete. Garrison grabbed the handlebars, inspecting the tires. Open the garage door. But just a crack. Enough to slide under, Garrison instructed. Leo hit the button on the wall. The motor whirred, and the heavy door began to rise. Sunlight streamed in, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Stop it! Garrison barked when the gap was 3 feet high. Leo hit the button again. The door halted. Garrison straddled the bike. He looked ridiculous. A middle-aged man in business casual on a teenager's neon mountain bike. But there was nothing funny about the look he gave Leo. You wait 10 minutes before you call anyone, Garrison said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something Leo had not noticed before. A small, folding pocket knife. He did not open it, just held it in his palm. A reminder. 10 minutes, or I come back, and I know you alone. Leo stood frozen in the dim light of the garage, the smell of gasoline and dry dust filling his nose. He nodded, unable to speak. Garrison did not say goodbye. He did not apologize. He did not thank him. He simply ducked his head, pushed the bike under the rising garage door, and pedaled out into the blinding afternoon sun. Leo watched his shoes disappear under the door. Then the wheels. Then he was gone. Leo stood there for what felt like an eternity, counting the seconds in his head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. The garage was silent. The house was silent. He was safe, but he did not feel safe. He felt violated. The sanctuary of his home had been breached not by force, but by trust. He walked back into the kitchen. The landline hung on the wall, the cord dangling. The same phone Garrison had used to fake a call. Leo stared at it. He looked at the counter where Garrison had gripped the edge. He looked at the laundry room door, still slightly ajar. The presence of the man lingered like a foul odor. Leo realized then that the bad guys his mom warned him about did not always wear masks or look like monsters. They wore polo shirts. They smiled. They fixed mailboxes. They groomed you with kindness so that when they needed to use you, you'd open the door and invite them in. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. He was not just a victim of circumstance. He had been a tool. Garrison had calculated this. He knew Leo was alone. He knew Leo was polite. He knew Leo was soft. A surge of anger replaced the fear. It started in his gut and rose to his throat, hot and choking. He grabbed the phone. He did not wait 10 minutes. He did not care about the knife. He dialed 911. 911. What is your emergency? He was here, Leo said, his voice surprisingly steady, hardened by a newfound resolve. Robert Garrison. He was in my house. He just left on a green Cannondale bike, heading north toward the wooded trail behind the subdivision. Sir, are you safe? Yes, Leo said, but he is not. He is on a bike. He ca not get on the highway. If you send a car to the old mill trailhead, you can cut him off. Leo knew the trails. He and his friends rode them every weekend. He knew exactly where a middle-aged man on a bike would try to go to avoid the main roads. He gave the dispatcher every detail, the color of Garrison's shirt, the sweat, the knife, the exact route he would likely take. He hung up the phone and walked to the front window. He watched the white police cruiser scream past his house a minute later, sirens wailing, turning sharply toward the woods. 2 hours later, his mother's car screeched into the driveway. She had driven back from Charlotte at 90 miles an hour after the police called her. She burst through the door, tears streaming down her face, and enveloped him in a hug that nearly cracked his ribs. I'm so sorry, Leo. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. Leo hugged her back, but he stared over her shoulder at the open front door. Later that evening, the news broke. They had caught Garrison 3 miles away, stuck in the mud on a trail near the creek, exhausted and weeping. They found the knife in his pocket. They did not find the money. Leo watched the footage on the news. They showed a picture of Garrison, the old picture, the one with the suit and the winning smile. The good neighbor. Leo looked at the screen, then at the deadbolt on the front door. He walked over and threw the lock, the heavy metal sliding into place with a definitive thunk. He would never look at a smile the same way again. The boy who wanted to be polite had died that afternoon, and in his place stood a young man who finally understood that the most dangerous wolves were the ones who knew your name.